So we got to see an early screening of Ash, the newest film from director Flying Lotus, who I only know because we saw, of course, one of the VHS films. I think this was VHS 85, and he did one of the segments. He has another movie, but I never saw it. So I didn't really have any expectations with him as a director. But there was some buzz around this. Lee McCoy from Drum Dums, who's a buddy of mine, was really into this one, which got me pretty hyped for it. And so I went into it with some, expectations, but not knowing anything about it outside of the fact that it was sci-fi horror, which I'm a big fan of. I knew nothing. So this is mostly a blind watch. I also knew Aaron Paul and Isa Gonzalez was in it, who I know from like Ambulance and whatnot. So that's it. Yeah, as usual, I try to remain as blind as I can on this. And I'll just cut to the chase right now. I thought this was fucking fantastic. I loved it, and I can pretty much guarantee this will end up in my top 10 of the year.
Yeah.
I thought that this was stellar. I'm not going to, overshadow this because I have a feeling Kaylee has a lot of the same things to say. So what'd you think?
Yeah, I also loved it too. I thought it was a pretty amazing film. And it was, it's always sad when we go into a movie like this and there's like 4 other people in the audience because it was such a cool movie. I think that this is like, as far as sci-fi horror, this is up there in terms of like, maybe it's just fantastic. Like if you were to say like Alien or The Thing or like any of those kinds of movies, I feel like this is comparable, honestly.
Yeah, this movie's not getting a lot of love.
Mm.
I saw on IMDb it has like a 5.8.
Which is crazy low.
Now
I don't think
that's
it
only
should be
with like
like that.
150 ratings currently. The Rotten Tomato score at one point was 100%, which is
Hmm.
what was
Hmm.
getting this thing a lot of buzz. So I hope that's not true, that people do like this when it eventually comes out tomorrow, when we're really going to start to see the reviews pile in. Because, man, I genuinely don't have pretty much a negative thing to say about the
Oh yeah,
film.
neither do I.
I think the film is visually stunning,
Yes.
right? I think that's the first thing that we should talk about. The visuals are fantastic.
Oh yeah, the lighting and everything, the way that like the spacey parts look and all of that is just fantastic. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Blade Runner, the new
Sure.
Blade Runner films, like in terms of
Blade Runner 2049,
yeah,
more so, yeah.
yeah, just
A lot
the
of
like the
neon.
neons and
Mm-hmm.
everything, which I love in horror movies. I think that it's
Same,
such a great like color palette to work with, and
same.
especially with sci-fi, it's like perfect. Yeah, beautiful film.
And the next thing, which is also done by Flying Lotus here, is the phenomenal, very memorable, thank fucking Christ, because these seem not to exist anymore, awesome score. This
Yes.
feels straight out of the 80s. It
Yeah.
has like almost a synth feel to it, and it
Mm-hmm.
fits this film beautifully. It complements the rich tones and the neon colors and just the vibe
Yes.
of the movie, right? Even if I didn't like the story,
Mm.
even if I didn't care. And the story is fairly bare bones for the most part,
Mm.
but there's a good amount of like little bits of world building in here, and I find that the film reminded me a decent amount of Dead Space.
Hmm.
But even if I wasn't vibing with that element, and I was, this as a vibe film, just the vibe check as we would call it here, you have the look, you have the sound, and you have the feel, or like just the
Like the
overall
atmosphere and
style,
everything. Yeah.
right? All passed, all excellent, right? So even if I was just like, characters are kind of lame, or this is like very like the story is whatever to me, you could pretty much like turn the dialogue off, and I would still be super high on it.
Hmm.
But I also was very in to the story, the characters. I thought Isa, I don't know how to say her first name, our main character here, is great. I thought that Aaron Paul is very good.
Mm-hmm.
We even have Eco from the Raid franchise in here, plays a pretty small role, but it was very cool to see him in like something where he's not really like a martial artist. But man, what a movie. This was such a great experience on the big screen. And this is definitely
Yeah.
one you want to own on like 4K, the
Yeah.
highest resolution possible, because what a beautiful film.
Yeah. The score kind of reminded me a little bit of some of the music from Challengers at
Okay,
times.
yeah.
Like it has that kind of intensity to it, which
Hmm.
is, Challengers has a fantastic score
Yes, it
and
does.
soundtrack. So, yeah. And then the other aspect of like the visuals is that the horror visuals in this were phenomenal. Everything with the horror was just like wonderful for me.
Terrifying.
It was super scary. And that's why, like, I feel like it's on par with the movies that I mentioned earlier because I think that it really captures a lot of elements of sci-fi horror from those two films. Without trying like no spoilers or anything, but just like those elements to me, I think were present, and I loved that. I loved it so much. But yeah, really scary imagery that I think is very memorable too.
I do want to bring down the
It's
expectations a
not
bit here. It's not the thing.
it's
It's
not the
just
thing,
not.
and it's
Nothing
not
is.
Alien,
No, it's not,
but
but
it
it is great.
it has, yes.
But it's comparable in the sense of like I can see the comparisons
Yeah.
and they don't upset me.
Yeah.
Right? As to where sometimes people are, oh, this is like the thing. And I'm like, I can see how you could say that, but don't even try to compare it, even in
It's
the same
not,
league of the thing.
yeah.
Nothing is ever going to be the
No.
thing.
I
So
mean,
let's not
yeah.
ever say that. Because I don't want people to come back here and
No,
be like,
no.
oh
I'm
my
not
God, she said it
saying
was as good as the
I said
thing.
it's comparable
Yes,
because it I guess
I'm
maybe
just
the better
protecting you.
word would be it's reminiscent of. Maybe
Mm,
that's better. But I do think that the horror is really fantastic. The biggest difference, I mean, not to go on a rant about like how great the thing is, but there's so much more of like character interactions and like character development and world building and all kinds of stuff in the thing that we don't get in this.
no.
This is a much smaller scale, like maybe a little bit more intimate because it's
Yeah.
kind of more focused on like one
Yeah, it's
character's
mostly like a solo venture.
yeah, which is really cool though. And I think that yeah, everyone's performance was fantastic, and it just really sold me on like on the sci-fi parts of it,
Yeah.
like I was very bought into everything that was happening.
It reminded me a bit of this movie with Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal called Life that came
Mm.
out maybe 5 or so years ago. That I honestly, a lot of people were big fans of that one. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I would like to go back and rewatch it. I think someone sent it to me on
Hmm.
Blu-ray so I can rewatch it. I didn't dislike it. I was just kind of like whatever on it. And a lot of people like loved it. This is like that, but with all the style, with the characters that work for me. I just didn't feel like they properly utilized things in that movie that I would have personally preferred for that. But with the like, when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about Life. But with this, man, it is firing on all cylinders
Yeah.
for me. The whole time I was like, wow, visually this is incredible. Wow, the music is really
Yeah.
really well suited for this picture.
Mm-hmm.
And oh wow, like the creature effects. There's some,
Super
and
cool.
especially like the last thing we
Oh
see
yeah, really,
is
really wild.
so memorable and so
Yes.
wild and looks so great. And here's another thing too. I don't know what the budget on this movie was,
Mm.
but it feels so fucking like well done.
Mm.
The like space visuals,
Yes.
the ships
Mm-hmm.
and the
Like the
world
technology and
and the
stuff.
technology. There's
Yeah.
some really cool stuff in there. So the set design, the costume design, that's where some of the costume design is mostly where the Dead Space stuff comes from. The suit kind of reminds
Mm.
me a bit of Dead Space. The gun she
Really
uses reminds me
cool.
of the Dead Space gun. But the suit is super cool looking. It
Mm-hmm.
has some like um some designs
Really
in
neat.
it that are
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Then there's this gadget that it's like a robot doctor
Oh yeah, I loved
that
that.
has like a Japanese
Super
voice,
fun.
and it scans people, and
Yeah.
it felt it. it felt like how old 80s
I was
movies
just gonna say,
technology
yes,
for the future look. It
yes.
doesn't look like how real like future tech would look.
Well,
It looks like
some
how the 80s portrayed how future tech would look.
I really like that because I think that sometimes modern day films with like sci-fi make the technology, I mean, maybe it is like, oh, it's trying to be more realistic as to
Yeah.
like what the aesthetic and standards would be, but it feels very clinical and like if
Yeah.
there's a lot of like white and like, blank spaces and like everything's, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, I do.
this one, yeah, like as you said, I think comparing it to like the 80s
This is style
sci-fi
over
tech
function.
for sure. And then
Yeah.
also it kind of has this like fantasy sci-fi element to it as well. Like it's not fantasy, but like that is sort of the vibe I feel like I get from it too.
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely.
of the designs
Absolutely.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So really, really cool. I think all of it was, yeah, I have no idea what the budget was. It makes me very curious about the other film of theirs, and but
Flying Lotus.
yeah, I would
He's
like to
also
check
he
it
also
out.
acts in this movie as well.
Oh, cool.
He's only in it for a short time.
Okay.
The other movie's called Kuso.
Hmm.
Has really bad ratings. It's 4.8, but shit, this one only has a 5.8, and I thought it ruled.
Yeah,
So
we were really big fans of this. Definitely one that we would
it's
recommend.
VHS 99. I
Oh, okay.
apologize.
Going out to see at the theater. I think this is deserving of it.
Oh, absolutely! Please
Just for the
support the shit out
visuals
of
and
this.
everything alone. Yeah, like you're gonna want to
No,
see it.
not just because of that,
Well,
because
yes,
movies
we
like
want to
this
support it because
need
yes,
to be supported.
yeah,
If you're shitting on all of these, like, you know, sequels,
yeah,
reboots,
remakes and all
like
that stuff. Go watch this.
unoriginal content and
This is
whatever,
unique and new and great.
if you want to see like a throwback 80s sci-fi, like, so fucking good.
Yes, yeah.
So good. Like, if this bombs and people hate it,
Oh,
I
it's gonna be
just
a bummer.
I just don't get it. Like, I don't know what people want. I really don't get it. I'm really kind of lost on what modern audiences want in film. So anyway, I'm not going to go on a rant about that. I just stuff like this, it just makes me excited, and it's like, yes, please, everyone pay attention to these kinds of things. This had the same kind of screening that Strange Darling did,
Mm.
which was like the live Q&A after. We didn't stay for it, but that's two films. We've only been to two of these now. Strange Darling was my number two of last
Yeah, we
year,
love Strange
and then
Darling.
that also had phenomenal cinematography,
Yes.
which was done by Giovanni Ribisi. And then this year, another live Q&A event, the second one now in a row that we've went to. That was just a huge plus
Yeah.
win.
So
So I wonder,
maybe that's a
it's a
theme.
good
We'll keep an
sign.
eye out for the next movie we see with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this was fantastic.
Yes.
So
Yes, it fucking
go
is.
see it if we haven't sold you on it, or if we have sold you on it, and if we haven't, go see it. Either way, just
Yeah.
go see it.
But don't attack my wife being like, you said it was the thing.
No, no, yeah, it's not The Thing. It just reminded me of The Thing and Alien.
Absolutely.
So
Apt
in all the best
comparison.
ways.
Yes.
Right. That's a big
I knew
I think
exactly
that's
what
a
you meant. I
yeah,
just want to
it's a
protect
huge
you.
compliment. I think people will be like, "Oh, she said it was comparable to," and I think that was the wrong word to use. So,
Yeah.
anyway, if you're still here.
I love her. I'm going to protect her from the trolls. Anyway, all right. We'll see you in the comments.
Bye.